The storm came earlier than expected. Ethan Miller gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. The snow fell in thick, swirling curtains that made the road ahead disappear every few seconds. The wipers squeaked uselessly against the glass, and the headlights barely cut through the blinding white. His fiancée, Rachel, sat beside him, cupping a paper coffee in her hands, the steam long since gone. She was staring out the window, watching the flakes whip sideways in the wind. "Lost signal again," she murmured. The GPS on the dashboard had frozen on a blank screen, the little blue dot gone. "Figures," Ethan muttered, squinting ahead. It said the cabin was only a few more miles. "We should be close." Rachel gave a tired nod, pulling her scarf tighter around her neck. This was supposed to be relaxing, remember? Just us, the woods, no Wi-Fi, no noise. Ethan smirked. "Well, we definitely got the no noise part." The joke didn't land. The silence pressing in from outside wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. The wind howled through the trees, a hollow animal sound. The tires groaned as the truck crawled uphill, the road narrowing until it felt like they were driving into the heart of the storm. When they finally saw the cabin, it appeared out of the snow, like something from a faded photograph. It was smaller than Ethan expected, a one-story structure tucked between pine trees that leaned toward it as if trying to bury it. The roof sagged under the weight of snow, and the windows were fogged from the inside. He parked close to the porch and killed the engine. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the distant cracking of the ice, somewhere in the woods. "Home sweet home," Ethan said, forcing cheer into his voice. Rachel didn't respond. She stared at the cabin for a long moment before getting out. Her boots sank into the snow up to her ankles. The air was brutally cold, sharp enough to sting the lungs. Inside, the cabin smelled like old smoke and damp wood. Dust covered everything, the furniture, the mantel, even the faded photograph hanging crooked on the wall. The fireplace stood cold and black, but there was a neat stack of logs beside it. Ethan dropped their bags by the door and rubbed his hands together. "We'll get the fire going, warm the place up, then maybe this won't feel like the start of a horror movie." Rachel shot him a look. "That's not funny." "Sorry," he said, half laughing. Couldn't resist. They spent the next hour unpacking, lighting the fire, and trying to settle in. The wind howled outside, battering the walls and making the whole structure creak like it was breathing. For a while, it was almost cozy. The crackle of flames, the smell of burning pine, the snowstorm raging beyond their little window of warmth. Then came the noise. At first it was so faint, Ethan thought he imagined it. A soft rhythmic sound beneath the fire's crackle. Scratch, 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 like claws dragging along wood. Rachel froze mid-sentence. "Did you hear that?" Ethan tilted his head, listening. The fire popped. The wind moaned. And then, clearly this time, scrape, scrape, scrape. He forced a nervous laugh. Probably a raccoon or something under the cabin. These old places always have. A heavy thud shook the floorboards beneath their feet. The fire shivered, dimming for an instant. Rachel's eyes widened. That wasn't a raccoon. Ethan grabbed the flashlight from his bag. "Stay here, I'll check." He crouched near the fireplace, running his fingers over the floorboards. They were uneven, warped from old water damage, and darker near the hearth, as if something had been burned there long ago. When he angled the flashlight through a gap between the boards, he thought he saw movement, a flicker of something pale, sliding out of sight. He jerked the light back, heart pounding. "There's something down there," he whispered. Rachel took a step back. "Ethan, don't, please!" He didn't move closer, but he didn't stand either. He just stared at the floor, waiting. The silence stretched. The only sound was the faint whistle of the wind, sneaking through cracks in the walls. Then, slowly, the scratching stopped. Ethan exhaled. Whatever it was, it's gone. Rachel's voice trembled. We should leave tomorrow morning. I mean it. He nodded, though they both knew leaving might not be easy. The storm outside had turned into a whiteout. The windows rattled, like they were being shaken by invisible hands. They didn't sleep that night. Every time the wind died, they could hear something else, soft shifting noises from beneath the cabin, or what sounded like faint breathing near the walls. Ethan got up twice to check, but each time there was nothing there. At some point near midnight, Rachel whispered, "It feels like the house is watching us." Ethan didn't answer. He was thinking the same thing. When morning came, the world outside was buried under snow. Their truck was nothing but a white mound. The road completely vanished. The storm had passed, but the silence left behind was worse. It was the kind of silence that made your ears ring. They spent the morning rationing their food and checking their phones. Both dead. Around noon, Ethan went outside to shovel a path to the car, but the snow was too deep. He couldn't even tell where the driveway began. When he returned inside, his face red and raw, Rachel was standing by the fireplace, staring at something. "What is it?" he asked. She pointed toward a stack of firewood by the wall. Behind it, something metallic glinted faintly. They moved the wood aside, revealing a small iron door built into the wall near the floor, no bigger than a dog hatch, with a broken padlock hanging loose. A faint smell drifted from it, sweet and rotten. Ethan crouched down, shining his flashlight into the opening. A narrow staircase descended into darkness. Rachel gripped his arm. "Ethan, don't even think about it." But curiosity had already taken hold. He ducked through the opening and started down. The air grew colder with each step, damp and heavy, like the inside of a freezer. The stairs ended in a stone basement, carved directly into the mountain. The walls glistened with moisture, and the floor was littered with what looked like old bones. Small ones. Animal. Maybe. Then his light fell on something frozen in the far corner. It was a shape, vaguely human, curled against the wall, pale skin pressed beneath the ice, smooth and featureless where a face should have been. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "What the hell is that?" he whispered. Behind him, the ice cracked. A slow grinding sound echoed through the chamber. The thing's arm twitched, shattering the ice that bound it. Ethan stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the steps. "Rachel!" he yelled. "Run!" He scrambled up the stairs, slamming the iron door behind him. A deep, guttural roar followed, shaking the walls so hard, dust fell from the ceiling. They pushed a chair against the hatch and backed away. The fire roared in the hearth, the flames trembling as if frightened. Ethan's chest heaved. "It's trapped down there," he said, voice shaking. Rachel stared at the floor. "No, it's waking up." The wind outside screamed again, and for the first time, Ethan wasn't sure if it was just the wind anymore. The storm had finally quieted, but the silence that followed was worse. Ethan sat on the edge of the couch. The fire burned low, and the only light came from the orange embers, pulsing weakly in the hearth. The cabin creaked as the temperature dropped, each sound making him flinch. Somewhere beneath the floorboards, he could still hear faint movements, slow, measured, as if whatever was down there was pacing. Rachel sat beside him, wrapped in a blanket, her face pale and eyes wide. Neither of them had spoken for hours. The clock on the wall had stopped ticking. "It's trapped," Ethan whispered finally. "That door is metal. It can't get through." Rachel didn't respond right away. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor, on the blackened boards near the fireplace. "It's waiting," she said softly. "That's what it's doing. It's just waiting for us to stop watching." Ethan looked toward the door to the basement. The chair he had jammed under the handle hadn't moved, but there was a dark line of frost creeping out from beneath it, spreading across the floor like veins. The air felt colder than it should have. He shivered. Hours dragged by. They tried to stay awake, but exhaustion finally pulled them under. When Ethan opened his eyes, the fire had gone out. The cabin was pitch black, except for the faint grey light leaking through the frost-covered window. He reached for Rachel beside him, but his hand touched only the rough texture of the blanket. "Rachel," he whispered. No answer. He sat up, blinking into the dim light. The front door was open. Snow had blown in across the floor, forming a thin drift that reached halfway to the fireplace. Rachel's boots were gone from beside the door. Her footprints led out into the white, vanishing beyond the porch steps. "Rachel!" Ethan stumbled to his feet, pulling on his coat and boots. The cold hit him like a slap when he stepped outside. The wind had died completely. Everything was still. The world was nothing but white snow and black trees. He followed the footprints. They led about 20 yards from the cabin, curving toward the tree line. Then, abruptly, they stopped. The snow ahead was churned up, as if something heavy had rolled through it, or dragged something. There were no more footprints. "Rachel!" His voice echoed off the trees, thin and small in the frozen air. Something moved at the edge of the woods. Ethan froze. It was a flash of color, a glimpse of red. Rachel's scarf. He ran toward it, his boots crunching through the snow. But when he reached the spot, the scarf was hanging from a branch about 6 feet up, torn and stiff with ice. There was blood frozen along the edge. His breath came in shallow bursts. The trees around him groaned under the weight of the snow. The forest was too quiet. Even the birds were gone. A sound came from behind him, a low creak, like wood bending under pressure. He turned slowly. Something was standing by the cabin. At first he thought it was Rachel. It was her shape, her size. But as it stepped closer, the details became wrong. Its limbs were too long, its shoulders too narrow, and its skin was the color of old snow, grayish white, glistening faintly under the pale light. Its head tilted to the side in a strange, bird-like motion, as if studying him. "Rachel," he said, his voice cracking. The thing tilted its head the other way, and when it spoke, the words came out in Rachel's voice, but off, like a recording played backward. "Ethan, it's so cold out here." He stumbled backward, shaking his head. No, that's not." The creature stepped closer. Its mouth stretched too wide, splitting at the corners until its jaw looked like it might tear in half. Rows of needle-like teeth gleamed faintly behind its lips. "Stay away from me!" Ethan shouted. It smiled. Its eyes, or the black hollows where eyes should have been, narrowed as if amused. "You brought me home," it said, in that same distorted imitation of Rachel's voice. Ethan turned and bolted for the cabin. His lungs burned, and his boots slipped on the ice, but he made it inside, slamming the door shut and shoving the couch in front of it. The sound of heavy footsteps followed, slow, deliberate crunches in the snow, then silence. He stood there, panting, every muscle in his body trembling. The wind picked up again, moaning around the cabin. For a moment, he thought maybe it had gone. Maybe it had just been the storm playing tricks. Then came a knock. Just one. Soft. On the door. He stared at the wood, unable to move. Another knock. Then another. And then, Rachel's voice, clear as day. "Ethan, please, let me in. It's freezing." His throat tightened. The voice was perfect. The same tone, the same rhythm, the same pleading note she always used when she was scared. He took a step forward, his hand trembling on the doorknob. "Rachel, please," the voice whispered. "I'm cold. You locked me out." Something deep inside him screamed to stop. He hesitated. Through the frosted window beside the door, he could barely make out a shape. A pale face pressed against the glass. Eyes too dark, mouth too wide. He stumbled backward, heart pounding. "You're not her," he said. The smile vanished. Then came the sound of claws scraping against the wood, slow and steady. The thing began to whisper through the cracks of the door. Not words now, but noises. Wet, gurgling sounds, like something breathing underwater. Ethan grabbed the flare gun from his bag and aimed it at the door. His hand shook so badly he almost dropped it. "Stay back!" he yelled. The creature stopped. The whispering ceased. For a long moment, there was nothing but the wind and Ethan's ragged breathing. Then, from the other side of the door, came Rachel's voice again, soft, broken, barely a whisper. "Ethan, help me!" Tears filled his eyes. He backed away, shaking his head. "You're not real! You're not real!" The wood of the door cracked. A claw pushed through, pale and dripping, curling around the edge. Ethan fired. The flare exploded in a burst of red light, lighting up the cabin like hellfire. The creature screamed, a sound that tore through the air and made the glass windows tremble. The door burst open, and the thing reeled backward, its flesh blistering where the flare's light touched it. Ethan fired again, then again, until the gun clicked empty. Smoke filled the room, and the red glow faded. Outside, something massive moved through the snow, retreating into the forest with inhuman speed. Ethan sank to the floor, sobbing. His ears rang from the gunshots. The cabin stank of smoke and burning wood. He crawled toward the fireplace and threw in more logs, desperate for light, for warmth, for something human. The flames flickered back to life. He sat there until dawn, clutching the empty flare gun. When morning came, he stood and looked outside. There were no footprints leading away from the cabin, just smooth, untouched snow. The door hung off its hinges. By the third day, rescuers reached the ridge. The storm had cleared, and the tracks from Ethan's car were still visible near the cabin. They found the door open, snow piled knee-deep inside. There was no sign of Ethan or Rachel. The fireplace was cold. The floorboards near the hearth were blackened, cracked open, as if something had forced its way up from beneath. On the window, traced into the frost by a single trembling finger, was one word: hungry.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.